Surviving serial killer's revenge as a missing person. What if you found out that your life was all a lie? Today we're going to look at the answers to those very questions, with a very real person was kidnapped by a serial killer as a small baby. The year was 1984, and 19-year-old Lisa Stasi was down on hard times. She had separated from her husband Carl, took the clothes on her back and her weeks-old baby girl Tiffany, left her hometown of Huntsville, Alabama, and traveled to Kansas City where she stayed at a battered women's shelter. She had no money, no job, no opportunities, and a tiny baby girl named Tiffany to care for. At the worst possible time in her life where hope was so hard to find, she met a man who called himself John Osborne. John told Lisa that he had an opportunity for her. He ran a charity designed to help new mothers. He wanted to send her to a job training program in Texas. Not only was there no strings attached, he would pay for her travel, accommodations, and even daycare for her infant daughter Tiffany while she studied to obtain her GED. When she told her sister-in-law about this amazing opportunity, alarm bells began ringing in her sister-in-law's mind. As they say, if something seems too good to be true, it probably isn't. On January 10, Osborne picked up Lisa at her sister-in-law's house to bring her to a hotel. She went in Osborne's car with her daughter and left behind all her belongings and her yellow Toyota Corolla. She was never seen again. The last contact anyone had with her was later that day, when she called her mother-in-law in hysterics. She had been told by some unnamed men that she was going to lose custody of her daughter because her mother-in-law had reported Lisa to be an unfit parent. She told Lisa that she had done no such thing. Eventually, the conversation eased and Lisa calmed down, but mentioned that these men had asked her to sign 4 blank sheets of paper with her signature and had not given her a reason yet. Lisa's mother-in-law advised her not to sign these papers, but the call was cut short when she abruptly said "Here they come" and hung up the line. That was the last time anyone spoke to Lisa ever again. Years go by. Searches and missing persons reports for both Lisa and her daughter Tiffany. As the years went on, hope faded of ever finding either of them alive. As the years went by, police released age progression images of what they thought Tiffany might look like as a teenager. A killer is caught. So, as it turns out, John Osborne was not a philanthropist running a charity to aid new mothers found in battered women's shelters. His real name is John Edward Robinson, a con man, sexual deviant, and serial killer. Police had long suspected him of terrible crimes, but it wasn't until they searched his property, finding the bodies of 2 victims in chemical barrels and several more in a storage locker, that the pieces fell into place concerning a young girl who now went by the name of Heather Robinson. In 1985, John Robinson's brother Don and his wife were trying to have a family with little success. They confided in John that they were looking at adopting. John told them that he knew of a little girl that needed to be adopted urgently because the mother had committed suicide. For a small fee of $7,000, John could facilitate the adoption of the child in a hurry. Once again, if something is too good to be true. They flew from Chicago to meet their new adopted baby girl in Kansas City, where John provided forged documents with signatures of a judge and 2 lawyers, and the adoption was made quote-unquote official. He then accepted a cashier's check for further legal fees and the couple returned to Chicago with the girl they decided to name Heather Tiffany Robinson. Tiffany, because they had been told that it was the girl's original name. Tiffany, now named Heather, grew up in a loving home. Although she battled through rough middle and high school years, she had a good environment, having no clue what dark past she would soon uncover about herself. It never occurred to her parents how strange the origin of their daughter was until the year 2000 when John was arrested. The whole family was together on the phone with the police when it was revealed to them that they believed Heather was Tiffany Stasi, a child everyone had long thought was gone. To the Stasi family, it was a wave of emotions full of joy and relief in finding long-lost Tiffany. When that same wave made its way to the shores of the Robinson family, there was shock, anguish, confusion, betrayal, fear. The adoption had been forged. They only knew that now. But what would happen? Would Tiffany, now Heather, lose the only family she's ever known and loved? Although Don and Helen Robinson had done nothing intentionally illegal, they now faced increased legal scrutiny. not only for their association with John, but the nature of the adoption of their daughter Heather. The struggle Heather had throughout this ordeal was immense. Years of learning to cope with her past, mental health issues that came up, and a media frenzy that wanted nothing more than to get a peek into the mind of someone with such a traumatic event in their life. She spent years trying to reconnect with her mother's family, trying to get to know who Lisa was as a person, trying to imagine what a life with her would have been like had Lisa survived the encounter with John Robinson. I'm personally fortunate enough to know a little about Heather's struggle, not because I've had to go through them myself, but because I found her. Today, Heather runs an organization called the Lisa Stasi Effect. An organization dedicated to bringing awareness to her mother's story and to help Heather gain some closure on finding her mother's missing remains against all odds. I reached out to her a few days ago through Facebook, and asked if I could take a moment to interview her about her experiences. Although she was hesitant to appear on camera or audio, she did agree to give me some written responses to some questions that I had for her.